Hello YouTube fans, welcome back to the AJ Speed Shop YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a tech video for you. And what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to show you guys how to properly do a one-wire high output alternator install on a G-body. And I know what you're thinking, not another alternator video. But wait, there's a reason why. For all my G-body fans out there that might be interested in putting an aftermarket dash/gauge cluster in your car, this video is going to be for you. For you guys that might not be familiar with the G-body charging systems and how they work, if you remove your factory gauge cluster and idiot lights, there's a factory volt light that is installed in the dash. That light is what triggers your alternator to start charging when you start your car. That's how most of the GM cars have been since the 70s and 80s, and I think they phased that out into the 90s. However, when you go to put an aftermarket gauge cluster in your car, you will not have a voltmeter light to trigger your alternator to start charging. And so there's a couple different workarounds for this. Some people have mounted light bulbs behind their dash on that same circuit. They just jumper them over from the brown wire to the pink wire. Some people have tried using resistors, jumping a resistor between the two wires to simulate having the volt bulb connected. I tried that. It did work, but it did not charge properly. My voltage was about half of what it should have been. So the fix for this is to install a one-wire alternator. And by one wire, I mean this is a self-exciting alternator. It doesn't need to have the input from the dash for this to happen. So most of our G-bodies already suffer from weak charging systems for a variety of reasons. So not only are you going to be getting an alternator that will charge itself or self-excite, but you'll also be getting a higher amp alternator providing more voltage to the entire car, and everything is happier with more voltage. Fuel pumps run faster, fans run faster, ignition systems spark better. It's just better all the way around. So that's what we're going to be doing on my 87 Grand National today. But this does apply to most G-bodies. Everything from the late 70s to the late 80s. So I have actually already installed a one-wire alternator on my G-body because I do have an aftermarket dash in the car. However, I wanted to install a new one. The alternator I have now is just a regular AC Delco 140 amp alternator that I converted over to a one-wire. And the alternator works well, it charges good, it's been reliable. But during the summertime at night when the lights are on and the system is really loaded down, there's been times where it didn't charge as much as I wanted it to at idle, where sometimes it would dip down into the low 13s, high 12s, and you're idling in traffic when the alternator is really hot. So I tried to put a smaller pulley on it to speed the alternator up at idle, and it did help, but it wasn't enough. So today I'm going to be installing a new alternator that I just got here from Summit, and it's a Power Master. And it's a 200 amp alternator, one wire style. But what's neat about it is it has an adjustable voltage regulator. You can actually adjust how much voltage you want that alternator to produce. So you're not just stuck with whatever it makes out of the box. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on that. I'm gonna fly through some of the install. I'm not gonna do a whole lot of filming just of the install process. We'll probably time lapse through some of that and just kind of get down to the steak and potatoes of the whole deal. But let me show you what we're working with so far. So this is the AC Delco 140 amp alternator. You can see the small pulley that I have on it. And this alternator charges fine 95% of the time. It usually holds 14.5 volts with everything on, except for when it's really hot during the summertime, and that's when it tends to get a little weak. But I'm planning on taking this car on the Hot Rod Power Tour, and during the middle of the summer on those tours, it's really hot. We have a lot of idle time. AC will be on, fans will be on, and so it's gonna have a large load on it. So I'm hoping that this new Power Master alternator will continue to keep up, and also it's going to allow me to use this AC Delco alternator as a spare. So I can bring this alternator along with me on my trips because, as you know, when you get out on a long road trip and you have a specific part like this, being the one wire style alternator, you can't just run straight to the auto parts store and get one. So I'm going to keep this one as a spare. It's going to travel along with me this summer, so I'll have a backup with me. And hopefully this Power Master unit's going to turn out to be good. So let me get this thing out and show you what we've got here. I got this unit from Summit. They had it in stock. It was about $400 after shipping. It's a 200 amp alternator, 1-wire start. Let me get this baby out and see here. Instructions. Won't be using those. Pretty nice black unit. Let me set you guys up over here so we can get this going. Hang on just. All right, looks like it's a pretty nice unit. Paint's got a few scratches in it. Looks like the paint is probably a little lackluster. I'm not crazy about this cadmium plated front blade. I'll be painting that before it goes on the car. And I can also tell just by looking at it that it's going to need to be clocked. And what I mean by clocked is the mounting location that they ship this thing out in is not going to fit on my Buick bracket. So I'm going to have to zap this thing apart, reclock it, pull the front pulley off, pull the fan off. I'm going to go ahead and paint the fan, get it all reclocked, get it turned back around, and we'll get ready to put this sucker on. Another thing I noticed is the positive post coming off the voltage regulator is quite a bit bigger than the one that I have on my car. So that means that my wiring, all my loops, I'm going to have to replace on my car or see if I can drill those holes out some. This is quite a bit bigger. So, and looking at this alternator right here, you can see this screw in the back of the regulator. That's actually the adjustment to where you can adjust the voltage to what you want. I'm going to try to run it as it's sent and see how it does, and if we have to make an adjustment, we will. So let me get this thing reclocked, get this pulley painted, the fan blade, and I will get right back with you when we get it ready to go on. Hey guys, I just jumped back into this video here. I was actually doing this off camera, but then it crossed my mind that some folks might not be familiar with how to reclock an alternator for their type of bracket mounting. So I thought I would just stop where I was at, back up just a little bit, and show you guys how to reclock an alternator just for those that may not have ever done it. So first off, you'll see that I've already zapped off the fan and pulley bolt with my impact here, and it's a 15/16 socket. I zapped that thing off. And so what you want to do is there's 4 screws that run through the case in the alternator. You want to go ahead and just take those screws out. Try not to separate the alternator. Usually what it takes is just a little tap. And you don't want to sit it on the shaft. You don't want to sit it on the back of the alternator. So I usually will just try to tap them on both ears and just until it frees up enough to allow it to spin. Take note of your old alternator, which I have already done, to figure out which position you need it to be in. Mine is actually only 1 bolt hole off. And go ahead and get your screws lined back up again. Try to get this back in here. You want to make sure you line it up to where your screws easily go in. You don't want to put them in cockeyed. Don't get them too tight. Get all 4 screws started and make sure the alignment is good on the screws. Make sure they're screwing in straight into both cases. And once you just get all 4 screws in, before you get it tightened down too much, take it over to the car and verify that your alignment is where you need it. Make sure you got the crux of your mounting points is where you need them at. Because you might have to adjust this a couple times before you figure out exactly what you need. Trying to eyeball it and then trying to actually put it on the car, you'll see it sometimes they're not the same. Snug. And be careful also when you're carrying it while there's no fan or anything on it, so it doesn't move anything around. Let me double check this and I'll be right back. Hour or so later, finally got the alternator on. Did take a good bit of work. The rear housing on this particular alternator has the ground, and one of the other mounting locations is a little bit different. So even after you clock the alternator properly, the wiring points where the main positive terminal is and the ground terminal are still a little bit different parts, little different locations. So I kind of had to rearrange my wiring. I had to move some stuff, but it's in there. Anybody that has one of these Turbo Buicks, you know what all is packed behind here. It's 10 pounds of crap and a 2-pound sack. So try to do the best you can with making it fit right. When you do an alternator upgrade, a high output alternator, you want to make sure that you put some large grade cables, both a positive and a ground cable directly to the battery from the alternator post and the alternator grounding point. This is where I have mine tying in right here, my positive side and the ground side. And those are independent of the factory charge wires. I still have the factory charge wire on there as well, but these are just redundant. I believe these are 4 gauge, either 2 or 4 gauge wires. I don't remember exactly what I put on here. I did it some time back. But you've read and heard through the years about the big 3 cable upgrade. That's basically what they're talking about, is installing larger cables to carry the load from the alternator back to the battery. So anyway, it's all on here. Finally, I'm not 100% happy with how the wiring fits back behind here now, but it's just so much stuff back there, and I didn't want to make any permanent changes so I could put my other alternator back on in the event that I needed to. So anyway, it all looks pretty good. Got the front fan shroud of the alternator painted black, and everything looks pretty good on it. Black alternator looks great on there. I have not started this thing up yet to test it to see if it actually works. So let's do that now. Let's see what it does. Hopefully it works. All right, let my dash boot up real quick. And this dash video will be coming as well, which kind of works in conjunction with this alternator video, because the whole point of me upgrading to a 1-wire alternator was so I could use this dash and not have the problem with the factory volt idiot light triggering the alternator. All right, let's see what it does. I haven't started it today, so let's see how it works. It's got good voltage, 14.8 cold. Let's see what it does once we load it up and let it get hot. And yes, my oxygen sensor is dead. So before you guys start getting me bad in the comments, the oxygen sensor is dead. I got a new one supposed to be here today, but my second wideband is tracking correctly. All right, let's put some load on this thing, get the lights on, get the air conditioning on. Still holding good volts. Put this blower on high. Charging good, 14.7. Now once it gets good and hot, we'll have to see what it does once the alternator is heat soaked and the whole system is heat soaked under the hood. But pretty optimistic right now with the lights on and the fan on high, the blower for the air conditioner on high. They put these high beams on too. It doesn't seem to phase it. 14.6, 14.7. Pretty good. Next time I get it out on the road and I get it good and hot, I'll try to do another snapshot of the voltmeter and see what it does once it's good and heat soaked, and I'll report back. I have not adjusted the adjustable voltage regulator. It's exactly how it came out of the box, so looks like they've got it set up pretty good. Tell you what, let's throw it down in gear and see what it does when the RPMs drop, because this thing only idles about 900 in gear. So let's see if the voltage drops too much. Oh, pretty good, comes right back. Man, if this thing holds 14.6 or close to that when it's hot with everything on, it's gonna be pretty good. I do have 2 amplifiers in this car. All the usual electrical upgrades that have a big drain on the system, so looks like it's charging pretty well. Good deal. Go ahead and shut this thing back down, and let's wrap this project up here. So once again today we got the Power Master 200 amp alternator. This is the XS Volt model. It's the one that has the adjustable voltage regulator. And it seems like it works pretty well. Like I said, the proof will be once we get the car out and get it good and hot on a good summer day and let the car run in 200 degrees with the fans on and everything all in, and then we'll see what we really got. But so far so good. It looks pretty good. If anybody has any questions about anything I've done today, please comment. Questions, responses, anything, let me know what you think. If you liked the video that you saw today, please click the like. And please hit that notification bell so you'll know when I have new videos coming out. I've got a couple more in the pipeline that should be dropping this week, so I'm gonna shoot to try to do 2 videos a week from this point. And if I get some good responses, get some good feedback from our viewership, I'm gonna keep pushing. Thanks a lot for watching. If you've made it this far, I appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next one.